Hey, Chris, how did this game with St. Mary's of Maryland come about, and more specifically, why?
So, we were just as we were in the midst of the quarantine. The A10 has been, good in terms of working with the schools that are coming out and what the schedule will look like from there. Naturally, nobody wants to rush into it, and so we're at this little bit of this in between time where, obviously in reality, I'd like to have a ton of time coming out, but we know we're up against the back end of the season. So we just thought that maybe to have a game a team that we could play where that would serve as another opportunity for us to play. So we're limited in the amount of days we have, but we're trying to bring the guys in two different times during the day. So maybe just to stretch and shoot foul shots one time, maybe to practice and lift another. And this is another example of that. Come in, we'll work out on Sunday, then come back and play the game that night, just to kind of double the opportunity to feel the ball, to touch the ball. And then obviously the game, invites a little bit of game tension and things that you can't necessarily replicate in practice. So we hope that will prepare us for coming back.
This is your third pause already this year. What is not being done the way it needs to be done for you guys what can you correct so that this doesn't happen again? Because like you said, you're up against the back end of the schedule, but three pauses is a lot for any program around the country.
Yeah. Well, I think I really have to say, Lane, we're doing everything that we can from the university, the athletic department, our basketball team. We've probably tested, I think we're scheduled to test 3 times a week, but when these issues come up, we end up testing more than that. Our guys have been very good in terms of their compliance and understanding. The campus and the university has created a extremely safe, a safe place where our percentages and numbers are far below the numbers that are around the state and different parts of the country. So, I feel like we are doing many of the things right. Our first pause was false positives, so that's really a tricky one for us to manage. And then these last two, it just takes one person to contract the virus, like so many have around the country and the world, and then you're going to go to the next part of the protocols is not to play and not to practice. So. Obviously we have to do everything we can better, but we've really followed very strictly and again, laid out by the university and the athletic department very strictly all the guidelines we're supposed to.
Hey, Chris, thanks for doing this. You guys, I know, preach, hey, control what you can control. Do you guys have to coach a little bit more against frustration? Just given this being the third pause, the long layoff, just hard to get into a routine, especially, I'm sure the guys were excited about the potential coming back and, the expectations this year. So do you have to coach and talk about and guard against frustration, not taking over, but being more present now?
Definitely. I think that's a really big part. I think there are a lot of issues that we're trying to make sure we can work through, and frustration is a big part of that. I feel like, for guys to be quarantined as much as they have, that really concerns me and their parents. And that's something that we're really working with them on, but it's a difficult one to manage if the protocols, say to stay quarantined for 10 or 14 days, that's what it is. And so, but I do think on the other side of that is frustration, because we're watching college basketball. There are games on in the afternoon and the evening. And certainly we feel like we're a really good team capable of great things, and we'd like to be playing. So I think the best thing we can do is we try to communicate as best we can with our guys all the time, but especially during quarantine and just making sure that they understand that this is a really difficult thing that's been dealt to them. but that the best way we can get through this is together and by talking and looking forward to the opportunities we have in front of us.
And I know you guys were able to, the second VCU game was rescheduled, so you have that now. Has the conference office been in touch with you guys about rescheduling any of the other games that you missed, or is that kind of a, day-by-day operation?
Right. I think that's pretty fluid. I think the conference is going to be heavily involved naturally in terms of how we do down the stretch and what teams are available at different times. I think UMass has recently gone on a pause. So that's going to be a tall order for the conference. And then we're just very willing, from our standpoint to play. And, if it's travel or home or whatever it is, we want to give ourselves the best opportunities to play for these last 4 or 5 weeks.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Chris, where do you feel you are basketball-wise? I mean, with all these games being played around you, what that's done, to Richmond's positioning without having any say in it for the last several weeks.
Right. What was the first part?
Just where you feel you are right now, with all these games around you and teams jockeying for position, and you haven't had a chance to really impact it for the last couple of weeks.
I know. Well, we feel like we've done some good things. It's so difficult to compare a team that's played 14 games versus a team that's playing 25 games. However, we feel like we've done some good things. We played a really good non-conference schedule, thank goodness. Having both VCU games remaining, playing St. Louis at least one more time, we're going to have definitely good opponents and good opportunities in front of us. So it's frustrating not being able to do anything, because then you start to get into this bubble watch and things you can't control, and you're yelling at the screen and things like that. And it's early February. So, we're just anxious. We were able to have the full team today. So we're just looking at the positives and then trying to work really hard to make sure we can do the best we can here moving forward.
Chris, do you get any say whatsoever in which games might possibly be made up that you missed, or is it all from the conference?
So, Lane, I would say officially no. I think the conference is going to make those decisions. But I think that probably, if you and I sat down, we would probably come to the same conclusion of who maybe should play who. So I would say that officially no, I'll have nothing to do with it. But I think that, input from the teams right now who are in contention or have an opportunity, I think that's likely the most important thing for the conference to figure out, is giving those teams the most opportunities they possibly can.
Do you or anybody on your staff have any personal connection with St. Mary's, or, I mean, how is it them that are coming?
Yeah, so no, we just wanted to find any team, and then the biggest thing was the testing. St. Mary's participates in the 3 tests per week, and so that was the biggest thing we needed to find. And then we did end up talking to some teams in the ODAC, and for either scheduling purposes or interest or whatever it was, weren't able to do it. And then I have to say, Lynn, I don't know how what's
That's a Dobo question, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fair enough. This is an ignorant question, but do you get to count this game towards your overall record? Because I know they're D3, but you get to count one a year. How does that work?
Something like, I think you can count as many as you want. I think usually the conference comes in and doesn't want teams playing too many non-Division ones on a typical year. So yeah, we decided to play it as a real game, just more for our guys to be in uniforms and go through warm-ups and have the tension of the game, those kinds of things, rather than to do it as a scrimmage. We just wanted to introduce that element back to the guys as best we could. And, we feel like LaSalle's a good team, but we feel like we didn't play well against LaSalle and then played pretty well against St. Joe's. And so maybe, this is really hard. This is really hard to do, is to come back and play an Atlantic 10 games soon. Maybe this helps us you know, if we don't play great, or we do struggle a little bit, you know, maybe we can get that out of our system to a certain degree. I hope so.